Three things I repeat every day. Three things in order for me to accomplish my dreams. Number one, I can. Number two, I will. Number three, I must. Folks, my name is Johnny Lee Reinoso. Born and raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Immigrant parents, mother from Portugal, father from Peru. Went to school, realized very quickly school wasn't for me. Very hard for me to understand and get by on a day-to-day basis. Why? Because I have ADHD. I didn't know that. And I'm saying this with pride. ADHD causing me to not understand, not pay attention, and have a hard time to really sit through class. That's a whole different category, a whole different conversation about how I feel the educational system today is not a position. It's not well prepared, well positioned for young adults, young students, young children today. Very difficult for me to get by on a day-to-day basis. But it wasn't until I started realizing in high school that I love the art of selling. I always knew I could sell. I always was selling. My father was in sales and he took me around and taught me the art of getting attention. He always said, if you could get the attention, you could win in sales. So I always was the one who wanted the attention. When I get to high school, I started selling different items, beepers, jewelry, clothing, all these kinds of things to really start to make a buck. And I realized early on, I could do this and I can make it happen. Got into the professional world without a college degree and started competing against those who were graduating from Ivy League schools. Let me repeat, Ivy League schools. Why? Because I knew I had a vision and a dream to accomplish and do more. But it wasn't really until I started focusing on these three critical ways of positioning my mind every morning. I can, I will, I must. I can accomplish my dreams. I will accomplish the tasks and what I need to do in order to win, and I must get it done. Now, let me double click on I must. Folks, if you do not know how to anchor a purpose for what it is that you're accomplishing every day, you're gonna have a hard time winning. You see, you need to understand, why do you get up every morning? Why do you challenge yourself every day? Why do you hit the phones if you're in phone sales? Why do you go out into the field if you're doing some kind of labor work? Why do you get up every day and do what you do? What's your purpose? You see, you have to understand what that purpose is, and it must be greater than thyself. Purpose cannot just be, well, because I want to get a new watch, well, because I want to get a new car, I want to buy more clothes, I want to travel more. That's all great, but there's got to be a more meaningful purpose. And 99% of the time, the purpose comes from serving others. Let me say it again. Purpose comes from serving others. You see, I was very successful in sales early on in my career. As a young adult selling in the fitness gym membership world, I was crushing it. When I got into real estate finance, I was the top sales guy out of thousands of reps across the United States, crushing it. Then I got into the management consulting sector, and I was crushing it in that space as well. But when I started my own business, C-Level Partners, and then I started the consulting arm, Reinoso Global, that's when I realized purpose. Because at that moment in time, I knew to myself, I want to do more, give more, and become more. I want to serve small to medium-sized businesses like no other, so I can give them the hope and allow them to accomplish their dreams and allow them to grab onto that feeling of it's possible. Purpose allows you to run through walls, and when you can communicate it well, others want to run through walls with you and for you. Purpose is what allows you to have such solid meaning that even when everything goes wrong, you still can smile knowing you're heading in the right direction. Purpose is what allows you to believe that no matter what happens today, you are moving one step closer. Purpose allows you to not fall into a state of depression. Purpose is the key to happiness. You must have purpose. Now, let me talk about fulfillment for a second. Fulfillment, which also speaks to happiness, which speaks to purpose, only comes from giving to others. Like I said early in this video, when you could turn what you're trying to do in life into serving others, that is the act of fulfillment and ultimately brings you the greatest state of joy like no other. Again, coming from two parents that came to this country with absolutely nothing, being able to be born into this beautiful family with great love and support, not having everything that I want, but only being given everything that I needed in my life growing up. gave me that grit to say, I'm in the United States of America. My parents came here to sacrifice anything. The American dream is living your full potential in a beautiful country that's filled and driven by meritocracy, capitalism, the ability to try, the ability to fail, the ability to succeed, the ability to invest, the ability to buy. That is capitalism. That is the free enterprise. And because we live in this great country called the United States, it is a must, an absolute must, that we do our part to live our full potential. And to get to that full potential, it goes back to that critical 3 phrase. I can, I will, and I must. And I must will only be driven by truth when it's attached to purpose. So, before you set out to accomplish anything in life, and before you really double down and invest and go all in, ask yourself those 3 questions, identify what that purpose is, and then go all in. Burn the boats and make it happen.